Welcome back to TV5 News at 9, everyone. It is time now for Medical Moments with Covenant Healthcare. And joining us this morning, we have Bregan DeFazio. She is Clinical Outcomes Nurse Specialist for Pediatrics. It is good to be here with you. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Glad to have you. We are talking about RSV. You know, we're really hearing that a lot this season. Of course, what is RSV and why is it only mentioned around this time of year?
Sure. So RSV stands for respiratory syncytial virus. It's a really common respiratory virus that causes cold-like symptoms. And typically, if you get sick with RSV, you're sick for about a week or two. But for infants and young children, it can be very, very serious. It can cause inflammation in the lungs and even pneumonia. And we tend to talk about it this time of year. It's when we see more cases. Especially this year, we've seen cases earlier than we normally do, and we're seeing them much more frequent.
And how's the severity of them?
They've been more severe than in previous years, that's for sure.
All right, so you went over a few signs and symptoms. What are other things that we can look out for our parents at home?
Yes, so cough, congestion, runny nose, and fever. You may notice loss of appetite or some increased fussiness, especially in the infants. And also the increased work of breathing. And this is kind of where symptoms can range from mild to severe. So you may notice that the child is breathing faster than they normally do. If you're looking at their chest, if the area in between the rib cage is kind of sinking in as they're taking a breath. You may also notice some noisy breathing. Sometimes there's wheezes, which sounds like a high-pitched whistle when they're breathing in and out. Or there's something called grunting, which is a late sign. It's a severe sign, but it's a noise that the child makes as they're breathing out. So, yes, and it's important to note with RSV that symptoms usually peak around days 3 to 5. So a lot of times children will get worse before they get better.
And it's good to know that too, because I know there's not a vaccine for RSV. So what does treatment look like?
Yeah, so there's not a specific treatment for RSV, unfortunately. It's all supportive treatment. So at home, if your child has a fever or if they seem really uncomfortable, you can treat with over-the-counter Tylenol and Motrin. You definitely want to make sure the child is getting enough to drink and staying appropriately hydrated. Another thing that I frequently tell parents, especially with the babies, is to try to suction out their nose, especially before they eat. So because they can have so much congestion, and if you think about it, when infants feed, they have to coordinate breathing and sucking and swallowing, and if they can't breathe, they can't feed effectively, so that can lead to dehydration. So just over-the-counter saline sprays to kind of loosen up the congestion, and then using a bulb syringe or some type of nasal aspirator to suction out their nose, especially before they eat, are all good things to do.
Those are great tips, things to look out for. So, of course, you know, if a parent finds maybe, you know, their child is breathing a little heavy, where do they go from treating things at home to maybe I should seek a little more extra care? Yes,
so if you're noticing some mild symptoms, you know, your child's breathing a little bit fast, but they overall seem comfortable, it's completely appropriate to have them evaluated by their pediatrician, family doctor, even urgent care for after hours. But it's really when you notice that increased work of breathing, that they seem uncomfortable. They tend to get lethargic if they are doing that grunting, the noisy breathing. Even, you know, sometimes you might see bluish discoloration around their mouth. That is a sign of a medical emergency, that their oxygen is pretty low, and you should definitely go into the nearest emergency department or call 911 if you need to.
Very good. For other parents and even other kids or people, what can they do in order to prevent, you know, spread of germs? Because, you know, it is flu season. You know, these all kind of go hand in hand. So
Absolutely.
What can they do?
Yeah, so try to avoid sick contacts as much as possible if you can. And I know it's hard, especially with families with multiple children. But hand washing is very crucial. So if you have a child coming home from school or from daycare, make sure you're helping them wash their hands. Even the infants and young children, I think sometimes we tend to forget about them, but make sure we're washing their hands as well. RSV is a virus that can live on surfaces for quite some time. So make sure we're disinfecting frequently touch surfaces such as doorknobs, even our cell phones. And then really kind of avoid kissing babies, touching their faces and their hands. Those are all good preventative measures.
And I'll tell you what, it's kind of hard. I have a new nephew, my first nephew, and
it's very difficult.
Yes, I want to give him kisses, but I know that it's better not to.
Yes.
All right. Anything else that you would like our parents to know, or anything about RSV?
Yeah, I think just really a quick recap. You know, children tend to get worse before they get better, but it's really important that you notice those signs of increased work of breathing, and when they become severe, if you're noticing that grunting, that bluish discoloration, that's a medical emergency, and you need to get medical help immediately. There's not a single treatment for this, so it's all preventative measures, but a good thing that you can do is hand washing.
All right.
Yeah.
I will say I didn't let up on the sanitizing wipes either since the pandemic. So.
I know. We're kind of been in the mode. So.
Yeah. All right, Bregan, thank you so much for coming in this morning and sharing all this great information.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. And for those of you at home, if you want additional information on today's topic, just go to the hot links page on our website, WNEM.com.